Welcome y'all to the Speak Easy show. It's Ryan Dunston. And then I'm with my co-host, Mr. Kenny
Yep.
Wilson. How you doing, King?
Hey, I'm going on. I'm good, man. What's going on with you? I know how your week been so far.
I'm all over the place. But
I
that's
hear you.
good problems though. Good problems. No complaints at all, man. Plus ain't nobody gonna listen
Yeah,
anyway,
right. It's all good
right?
though. But we here
How
though.
you doing?
That's the main thing. I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. Like I said, I'm kind of ready for a break. So holidays going kind of slow down a little bit. I'm looking forward to that. Spending time with some fam.
Yeah, I agree. Well, before we get to that break, um, we're about to step into some hot water, man. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm always ready. Let's do it. Let's stay in trouble so I won't get some more trouble. You know.
Yeah, man. So today, man, we're gonna be talking about compatibility.
Yeah.
Um, and it's gonna be, I'm sure, another good topic for us to dive into. Probably controversial, which is what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think things are it's controversial because everyone has different opinions. And I sometimes I think that's okay. We can have different opinions, you know, as long as we're not lashing out at each other, going off on people about it. We can have conversations about it. It's all good.
yeah, well, all right, so transitioning right into that. How do you, because you're right. You're right, man. There is most certainly, a difference of opinion when you're talking about a subject like this, right? Because, if there's everybody likes relationship.
Right.
Everybody wants to be received, everybody wants to be liked, and then we want companionship, right? So we're on some of us are on the lookout for that. Not all. I want to make sure we stay away from the pandering, right? But at the
Right.
same time, for the most part, people are looking for companionship. But I feel that this compatibility word, man, gets taken out of context, and it gets taken out of context often. How you feeling about
Yeah.
that though? What's your opinion on compatibility before we dive
I
into these
do.
deep
I mean,
topics about it?
yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where like it's subjective to the person. I feel like because even as I was trying to dig a little deeper, and I'm like, what are we really talking about here? We talk about compatibility. So I think about my definition. I was curious to hear yours because I think it may be different depending on who you're talking to. And I think that may be
Yeah,
part of the issue.
that's true. That's true. I'll throw myself out there in the ring, right? So for our topic number one, when I think about compatibility, I think sometimes that can be a trap. Just
Mm,
because we all change, man. People change, right?
yeah, yeah,
Who we are before we have kids in the relationship, right? And who we are before we're married. And who we are before certain relationships come, or before certain promotions we receive, or before we graduate college or get our masters, right? As we continue to climb the success ladder, versions of ourselves, we evolve. Some of us heal, and shout out to Miss Cypress. Thank you for joining us. But we continue to grow. We grow, and what you consider yourself to be, compatible to early on in your early ventures, may not necessarily be who you are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the line. So that's the reason why I said, can compatibility be a trap? Right? Because I would love for some of my sisters who are struggling as a single mother, or some of our brothers who are having to deal with a very difficult situation as a what's up, Raymond? How you doing, King? Thank you for joining us. Some of our brothers who are having to raise their children, from afar, or not necessarily from afar, but on visitation, right? They're up in the system now with child support and all of this kind of things. Like this comes from what you thought you were compatible with, something that clicked
yeah,
right off the break, right? And that's what I mean by sometimes compatibility can be a trap. What you think, though?
yeah. I think we're talking about compatibility. I think we're talking about like our perceptions of what we think we want, our perceptions of what we think we're going to work with, and what's going to work with us, and personality types and all those different things. And
For
like you said,
sure.
we're constantly evolving. We're constantly evolving. Everything is constantly changing. I always say this: the man I was 5 years ago is not the man I was 10 years ago. All that stuff, like you were saying, right? And so we get caught up in this: what do we think we want? What are we attracted to? I used to see all those lists of all the you write down all the things you want in a person and all that kind of stuff. But I do think, like you said, it is falling into a trap because one, we think we know what we want, we don't really know. Two, it changes. So, and I think a lot of people end up with that. They start off in a relationship, then they wait 10 years later, and it's like, wait, this is not the person I thought I knew, or because stuff changed. And so I think when it comes to compatibility, that has to evolve with you who you are. Like it has to constantly change. So it's almost like a constant conversation you have to continually have with yourself and your partner. You know, what is
Yeah.
this looking like now? Where are we going? What direction are you in? What direction am I in? And that's part of that, that communication and making sure you're on the same page, goals, everything lines up. Like you said, things get introduced along the way. Kids is another big thing that'll change everything out of whack. Life, all that stuff. So I'm agreeing with you. I think it is. It can be a trap if you don't pay attention to it.
So and that's interesting that you went there with it, right? Because and shout out to Natasha, man. She said in the comments, or you want something until you get it. That right there is exactly where I want to be because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm,
And as a youngin, I know I was hard headed. It was hard to tell me anything, right? I didn't have a father. I didn't have no structure. I didn't have no authority in my household. I came up with my mom, but my mom was always at work. Now, let's be honest, man. I was 15, 16, 17 years old running the house. Didn't know
me,
a
same
thing.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So for me to come to grips with what I thought I was compatible with was me coming to grips with with culture. I began to love and fall in love with quote unquote culture, who I think
Mm,
I should be with. The Coke bottle shape. That ain't got nothing to do with the character of a female, the
yeah,
understanding of her purpose on earth, right? The person she is, what her dreams may be. Man, I'm gonna keep it 100 on the Speak Easy show, right? I saw
let
her
them know.
ass. I was good.
Right,
Sometimes the face didn't even mean nothing to me.
right, right.
You know what I'm saying? But how do we begin to tap into what a young individual doesn't know? Because let's be honest, I didn't know. Nobody even approached me with this topic.
Yeah,
Nobody ever said to me, "How do you know what you're compatible to?"
and that's a good question. I don't. I think that comes with life and experience. I think that comes with being in tune with yourself first. Like I said, you kind of start off with I know what I like. I know. I started off I know what I don't like. That was my thing. I know what I don't like. I know what I don't want. Right. But you have to start somewhere because even if someone tells you, let's say you get big home, you're getting their perspective still of what compatibility is. So you're not really developing it for yourself. So I think that's
Yep.
to me, that's the beauty of growing. That was the beauty to me of dating, courtship, because that's when I learned, oh, I see that. I kind of like that. Oh, nah, I see that. I don't want that. Nah, nah. So I had to learn that for myself, and that was part of the growth. So I don't know if anyone can tell you. Like I saw somebody in the comments. I think it was Truman that said, people could be complete opposites. That's what I ended up. That's what me and my wife are. We're complete opposites. If we put us on paper together, if you by anybody's standards, we would not be compatible. They would probably would have told us to run from each other. But we ended up being
Yeah.
attracted to
Yeah.
that. That was what kind of attracted. And for me, I learned early on that I needed somebody that was gonna balance me, that was gonna check me a little bit. I'm gonna say this, and I said this before. I always said I don't want no punk ass wife. That was my
Yeah.
thoughts to myself, right? And so I found a woman who, no, I need you to stand beside me, let me know what's going on, work with me, when I was weak and strong kind of thing. So, but I think that comes from just learning yourself and growth and all that.
Yeah. And we got some great comments in here, man. And listen,
I know
thank
I'm
y'all, man,
seeing
for
it. Yeah,
joining. Yeah, we got some dope feedback on this topic too, Kenny, early on, man. Thank y'all for
yeah.
joining the Speak Easy show. And shout out to Candace for allowing us to use her platform. Shout out to Candy
Yeah.
Coated Secrets. Thank you, man, for joining us. I saw one comment that said compatibility. I want to get back to that one because we're gonna get into that a little later on, but compatibility is based off seasons. Woo! It's a lot in that one. It's a lot in that one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because listen, that's actually where I was going with it, and I'm gonna save a little bit too, man. Shout out to Mr. Tyson, man, because I agree. But I
Yeah.
also believe that you can pick a female early that you can grow with, right? There are certain
Yeah.
characteristics that you'll be able to identify in a female if you're looking for them that you just know you might even and listen, you might not even really know what you're looking at. So for me personally, I was young and dumb. Me and my wife been together. We've been married for 4 years, going on 5, but we've been together for 15 years, going on 16, right?
Yeah.
And I had my crazy season, right? And my wife was able to see some things in me that I didn't see in myself. She was able to see a version of me that I had not yet seen. All right,
Yeah.
she could see some characteristics in me, right, from the father that I had decided to be no matter what I was going through. The way I did decide to love her in moments, right? And it does not, I'm not prideful or proud to say this, but there were times where I just simply didn't see her. But she could see that it's not that he can't see me, it's that he can't communicate what he's going through. He
Yeah.
don't know how he's hurt, right? And in a lot of ways, I benefited from her perspective because she was hurt in ways that she didn't know how to communicate either. So we kind of saw each other in that sense, and we never quit. As one thing I always said about my wife, like, I don't know why I consider you to be home base. I can't leave you for some reason, no matter how
Mm.
much I am, no matter how much you're getting on my nerves in a certain moment, right? No matter how many times because we were off and on, we broke up a lot. You know what I mean? And but we still were able to figure it out because there was some type of gravitational pull back to who she was and back and her vice versa back to who I was, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, we were able to grow together. So I do believe that there are certain characteristics that you may not know how to identify, but can identify with, right, in the inside of you internally, right? That'll just keep you in a relationship you want to break away from that will ultimately end in your good. But I don't say that lightly, right? Because there are also relationships you gotta bounce from.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's say this. I think we're going, like you said, with seasons. And I'm reading some of the comments. Y'all are crazy. Y'all crazy.
Yeah,
Um, but but like I said, that goes to the points we are in our lives. Like I said, as a young person, it's a different perspective. Like I said, what we think we know, we want it. As a young man, I was kind of like you. We was looking at physical stuff, the physicals, and,
yeah,
and that's what we thought we wanted back then. But as you get older, it's more I want out of this. I need more. I'm looking for more and things like that. And that grows with you. So as we talk about your seasons in your life, I could break it down to me being a young man in my early 20s. What I thought I knew. I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I knew all this stuff. I was driven. How I'm going to get it. And then I got a little older. No, this is what I want to spend the rest of my life with. And then even as that changed, even as I got older, my needs are different now. Our communication, all that stuff. So it's like we're constantly flowing, we're constantly moving in this thing called life, and that's why I said that. All this grows with us as we grow older. These things change, it grows. So you have to constantly, you have to reevaluate sometimes. And I think
yeah,
that's why it gets scary for people because sometimes people, like I said, they wake up one day and they think they look next to the person and they're like, this is not what I wanted. We're no longer
yeah,
compatible. I hear that a lot. I've had friends who ended marriages and stuff. They say we're no longer compatible. And to me that was like, wow, that was wild. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, because did you put forth the effort and work on those things, communicate about those things, those life changes, and how that looks for you? And I know I'm saying the same thing over again, but so as I say, when people say seasons, I think that's what we're going through at this point.
yeah. Yeah, you got to make room, right? You got to make room. Even if you don't even know what you're making room for, you got to make room, right? So if you're planning on, you know what your end game wants, you know what you want it to be, you know what the end game is, right? But before you can get to the end game, you got to assess where you are right now, which I think will help you identify, what
Yeah.
Raymond, shout out to Raymond, man, for what he said. You gotta know what your core values are, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, with you choosing or what you deciding on what you're compatible with at a very early age, you haven't yet assessed how you're hurt or how you're in pain. And you can make a mistake and have your pain, right, gift wrap your preferences to you. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you got exactly what you wanted in your in that very first season, very immature one, but you got what you wanted. And then next thing you know, you got a baby mother who wants you on child support, maximum amount, only see a child on a Sunday afternoon, and trying
Yeah.
to ruin your life because she's hurt in a similar way that you are.
Yeah.
But you can't really see it that way though, because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have
Yeah.
chose her if you weren't hurt that way.
Yeah. Let me throw something else out there. We're talking about us as
Go ahead.
individuals a lot, but we're not discussing what our partners. We don't think about the other side of the fence on this one too. There are times like we're thinking about all the things we want, but what about what your partner's looking for? What are the things that they find or they're looking for that they think are compatible for them? Y'all have that conversation and line those two up together. And that goes into communication, but it also goes into, hey, what do I need to work on? You know, and that's one of the things that I do. Like, I know I want her, but what is she looking for? Now I got to sit down and have that
Yeah.
conversation. What are you looking for out of this? What are some of the things you want? What do you see yourself? And what does that look like for you? And then I hear that, and I'm like, okay, she wants X. I gotta do X. She wants Y. I can do that too. Let me, oh, I didn't even know that about me. Okay, so so we can start figuring that out. So I don't think that's
Hmm.
just a one-way street. I think everybody's so focused on us. There's a whole other person you got to have a conversation with about too.
Without question. As a matter of fact, man, speaking on that, and that's a great segue into the next topic, right? And we've already touched on it, right? Can
Yeah.
these things be in season, right? If and Candace, if you could throw that up for us, man, that'd be dope. But yeah, I mean, it's compatibility based off the season that you're in, and I think that it can you can get lost in that because there were times where my wife would tell me things about the things that I couldn't see about myself, the version of me I didn't quite know I was hurt,
Yeah.
or my blind spots. She would identify my blind spots, and there would be fireworks,
Yeah.
right? They would be moments where we split, but again, she's home. So she was home base, so I couldn't necessarily leave for a long period of time. For whatever reason, I just found my way back to her and vice versa. But there were times where she told me things about myself that I just wasn't necessarily ready to hear yet. Right. And before I go on, man, I just wanted to remind y'all, hit that like button, hit that heart
Yes.
button,
Yes.
share the show, Speakeasy Show, Candy Coated Secrets. Shout out to Candace. I appreciate you. And shout out to everybody that's in here joining us, man. We got so
Yeah.
much interaction in here right now. I can't even keep up with everything,
I
but
know. I'm trying to read them
um
too. Yeah, but this is good stuff. Yeah.
it is good stuff. It's dope stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, because and early on, you coming out your household surviving, broken, all kinds of crazy insecurities that you don't even know about. Culture got you driving backwards. You thinking that you like something that you don't really like, right? But then what happens when you graduate college, or what happens when you receive a promotion, or what happens when you hit a rock bottom and then you reevaluate yourself, your glass breaks, you reevaluate who you are in certain moments, and you're like, man, I gotta fix this, right? But then what if she don't want to be fixed the way you trying to be fixed, right? My wife will
Mm.
come to me and tell me things about myself that she could see in my blind spots, and I'm like, I'm not trying to hear that right now. I disagree. That's
Yeah.
can't possibly be who I am. You know what I'm
And I
saying?
and yeah, that's that part of that maturity factor. That's that part, but that's also trust too. If you're with somebody
Yes,
that you trust, you got to trust what they're telling you. You got to be able to receive that too. And if you trust and love that person, know that the information they're sharing with you is from love. You know. But I do
which
think
is why
this is
communication got to come back in there.
it's
Words
always
have
there.
power.
It's always there. We talk about communication every week, and communication is
Right.
it really is. But even talking about season, I think this whole season thing is a bad thing. I think this is part of our growth. We have to go through these seasons sometimes. We won't learn about ourselves. We won't come out of some of this stuff, this pain and this trauma, if we don't go through these seasons and figure things out and come out of these seasons. And that's why I say it's constant growth. So even as don't take it as always being a bad thing, y'all. And that's why I say if you have the support system around you, if you have partners, people that can help guide you through some of these things. So like I said, sometimes we can't come out of these seasons ourselves, on our own. We need help with some of this stuff too. But it's okay. Think about being a young man. You remember them days, right? We were young. We was
Absolutely.
wild and we was all over the place, you know.
Hmm.
And thank God we were able to come out of that stuff. But we learned from it too. Because sometimes we
Yeah.
needed that stuff to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids, man, my kids grew me. And my wife grew me, right? That's why I said certain seasons just elevate you. And
Yeah.
certain people respond well to it, certain people don't, right? We all grow in our own due season. But I do think that, it was a comment that was up here when you were talking, man. Some people grow apart, some people are, never meant to grow together. But let me dive into that comment just a little bit, right?
Mm.
And that was Miss Kimberly Diamond. Yeah, there it is. And I wanna so this is just me reflecting on my own life. This is not me projecting on anyone. So I don't want no pandering comments in here, all right? but but man, let me just dive into that comment for a second, Kenny, and you let me know what you think about it. Because when I think about that, I also think about how I had to be willing to endure my wife's broken seasons,
Mm.
right? And in that sense, there were times where I was familiar about the way, I mean, familiar with the way she was broken. So it was easier to endure because it was similar to the way that I was broken. But then there were moments where her growth was more accelerated than mine, right? Mothers, man, they just kind of show up right
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
point at times. And I struggle. I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you I'm mad right now. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But there are times where I had to, and she had to endure me, right? Had to be patient with me, had to sacrifice her feelings in order to be able to endure my imperfections so that we wouldn't necessarily grow apart. We could grow together, right? But it reminds me of 2021. Everything is so automatic. And if I'm being honest, my attention, if a video doesn't load in 3 seconds, I'm on to
Well,
the next. You
yeah.
lost me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If in certain business ventures, I had to learn to be patient with myself
Yeah.
because I would fail 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before I found my route to success. But there were also times where I quit on a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that that's because of my broken counterpart. I think that's because of culture. Like I think culture got some of these relationships not necessarily enduring one another. What you think about that?
Yeah. I think a couple things. One, I think culture does play a part. We live in a microwave society. Everybody wants
Microwave
everything
society.
instant. But
Mm,
relationships, this is the slow walk. This is long term stuff we're talking about here, and that's why that process comes to that process and that growth. Those things are so important, So you have to be willing to endure. But I will say there may be some situations where it may be time to look at, reevaluate, communicate, maybe say, hey, this may not be working.
So
For
take a
for
stretch,
for
take a leap of faith, Kenny.
I'm gonna say,
What do you think some of
let's
those things are?
okay, let's take a big one. Let's say domestic violence.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, let's say maybe it started off great and for whatever reason something changed and now you have a partner that is abusive in some way, shape, or form. And if it's not able to be repaired and if they're not willing to work on that, now that becomes a safety issue. Now you might have to go. So there may be situations where certain things may get to that point, and I think we sometimes we do have to be honest and realistic. But I will say, you get to that point and you've worked it out. You've tried. If you exhausted every measure you can, and now it gets to the point where it's like, okay, we've tried. Maybe this doesn't work. That may be a situation to look at, But at least if you've gone through
yeah,
that. Sometimes I think we're so quick to just get out, and we didn't try the things we should have tried. We didn't go through the process and walk through it together. I think so. I think part of that culture is, like you said, we're so quick to look at certain things or some of the superficial, surface level stuff that we look at, and if that doesn't hold up to our relationship, the stuff they doing out there that we not doing that, then we look side eyed at each other, and we're not willing to grow, and now we're not compatible. You know, for example,
yeah.
I'll take some leaps. Let me take some leaps out there. I think take some leaps.
Okay, go ahead. Because I'm with it. I'm with it. Go ahead.
Let's say she makes more money than you, so that means you're not compatible. Not now.
Woo! Let me get in there with you on that one. Can I get in there with you on that
Absolutely.
one? And listen,
Come on,
just
I'm
to
with it.
just to take a step back, right? Because when I wanna because I hear a lot of, and I'm gonna throw my faith out there just for a second there, and this may not pertain to everyone. All right, so I'm not shoving anything on you,
Yeah.
but my father, he does care about my father God. He does care about the covenant, but he will. There's a difference between harm and hurting,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference between harm and hurting. If you are experiencing harm, all right, that can impact you going forward. That can have permanent impact, right? My father doesn't advise that. Hurting, you can endure a little bit of pain because of certain situations that you'll have to grow through, right? Because change is painful,
Yeah. You're
right?
going. There's going to
If
be pain
you
at some
are
point.
right, I've never read anywhere in the Bible that my father has suggested that anyone should stay in a relationship where you're getting your brains beat out of.
Yeah.
No, sir. All right, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. But then number two, man, listen, I was in a season where I couldn't bring the bread out. I was starting a business.
Yeah.
And there were moments where wifey had to hold it down. And as a man, I had to learn how to be a man in that environment. I had to one learn that I still had the authority that I had as a king. I
Yeah.
also had to learn that I could still love my kids, right? As a father. There was nothing less than about me in that season of my life. But that had to be revealed to me, right? Because I never had a father. I've never seen
Yeah.
a man in front of me to go through a dark season and come out of it. So everything that I was getting on the job training. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? So I had to be in a season where my wife had to hold it down, and I had to find my confidence and voice to still manage the money that I wasn't bringing in, still
Yes.
be a father that I was supposed to be, still be a husband, because there were times where I had to advise my wife, you know what I mean, monetarily, or
Yes.
in certain aspects and in certain ways that she absolutely needed me to come in and provide leadership and guidance for, because let's be honest, we're in covenant. She sees what I can't see, and I see what she can't see. We're blind. We reveal each other's blind spots.
Yep.
Did I have the wherewithal to be able to be in that seat? First of all, fall. You have no idea. Yo, how many men don't like to fall?
None of us do.
None of
None of
us
us do.
do.
No.
Nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes to fall. Nobody likes to find out that you didn't have it all together, right?
Yeah.
But then, when you're in the pit, do you make that your permanent destination? Right? But then there's some queens out here that absolutely love their man to be down there because
Yeah.
they saw all their life is taking care of a man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we dancing around with this season thing. So I just wanted to get in there and I want to throw it back at you because I want to hear what you was getting ready to say next regarding this you stepping out on. I like it when you step out on faith, Kenny.
I step out there. I look because, but that's one of those things where it's like I said, that's not a compatibility thing. That's an ego with insecurity thing. But sometimes we use it as to be compatible. The physical things sometimes we get. That's why you ever hear somebody talk about really. It's always the physical stuff first. What you got? What can
Yep.
you do? What can you provide? But those are things that really make people compatible. That's not even scratching the surface. So when I hear stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, I heard that conversation a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about some other show. Was like, can you be with a man that makes less than you? And I heard a lot of people say no, and that was mind
What?
boggling to me. Yeah, yeah.
Let's throw that
I'm
in
like,
the chat real quick. Hey,
I'm like, what you
listen,
mean?
and yeah, what do y'all think about that? And listen, this is the Speakeasy Show. Candy Coated Secrets, man. Share the show, please share the show. Hit that like button, hit the share button. And but yeah, I want to throw this out there, man. What do y'all think, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah,
Could you be in for the man? Could you be in a relationship where your woman made more than you? Do you feel confident enough to? And I don't even before I even get to that next statement. All right, we gotta be
I know.
mindful of the. I don't want to hear nothing about you can't bring the table to the table or I bring this to the that or none of that. I'm not trying to hear none of that, but I do want to know, are you willing to be in a relationship but still feel like a man when you don't bring the bulk of the bread in? But then also for a female, could you be in a relationship where you holding it down and another man doesn't? Can you see? And I might I might rattle some feathers with this one, but can you see a man's qualities and characteristics if he is not bringing in the bread?
That's a good way of saying it. I think that's a good way because a lot of times, like I said, I mean, I can think of many different scenarios, but um, even some of the data statistics show, coming out of education, coming out of college and stuff like that, women are excelling faster, women get to the workforce faster, things like that, you know. But I think about that situation because I was in the same situation you were in. Being an entrepreneur, I had to pivot at one point. I pivoted several times, but
Mm.
and in the process of that pivot, I work in
You see
industries,
that?
I do those things. I saw it, my man. But we got to get away from that, y'all. I mean, there's another thing I said, like I think the way you said it, where can you see the man's drive? Can you see the man's ambition? Do you see the track that he's working towards? That's
Yeah,
different than just being a bum, and not trying to do anything. There's some men out there that may not be wanting to do anything. They ain't got no drive, no ambition, they don't want to do nothing. That's different. But there's a lot of men out here who actually are trying to work towards something. They may not be there at that moment, but they're gearing towards something, you know?
yeah,
And things change, and I say that to people too, like job security ain't always job security either. You might be on top
nope,
one day, but what happens when things change and things flip, you know? And so it's like how can we not work through that? And even for fellas, I
yeah,
know that's a hard thing too, where it's like that's the ego. Your ego take a hit. Um,
yeah,
but and like you said before too, it's another thing to have that going on, but also what is the dynamic in your relationship at that point? You
yeah,
know, are you throwing it in your partner's face? Do you bring it up every time you argue and stuff like that? Those are the things that can be damaging and harmful. Especially for somebody,
yeah,
man or woman, who's trying to make it happen. They trying to make it. They trying to get everything together. But how are y'all working towards that? Like I said, sometimes so for you, I know the dynamic in your family didn't change. You were still dad. You still had to be dad.
yeah.
You still had to be husband. There were things that you were still good at. That didn't change who you were as a man. The
Hmm.
situation might have been a little different at that point.
For sure.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
listen, and to Miss Anderson, as long as he's being productive and adding to, there it is right there. As long as he's being productive and adding to, I will always respect, love, and lift him. Listen, if she can trust your vision, it's easy to buy into, right? And as long as
mm-hmm.
she continues to see your progression, even in your failures, because now let's be honest, man, every couple is gonna go through seasons where you lose it all and get it back,
Yeah,
right? Do you have enough character to understand that while you're in the process of becoming, whether that's the female or the male in that business venture, there's a process to becoming. You have to become the person that's going to be able to hold what you're getting ready to hold, right? And there's a entire process, there's a humility process connected to that. There's a learning process connected to that. There's a changing process connected to that. There's so much that goes into that level of thinking that most couples overlook, right? And buckle under the circumstances that they see directly in front of them. Not saying
yes,
that it ain't facts. I'm not saying that what you see ain't real, right? But what do we talk about faith? Faith is not the denial of reality. Faith is just the belief that what you see will change. You see what I'm saying? And that
yeah,
all comes from a vision that you can buy into, right? And how you're working at that vision. Are you obsessed with that vision, right? Are you Listen, it may sound crazy, but when I used to come in here completely pissed at my failures and wilding out, right? Like not necessarily coming here and wilding out, but man, there would be times where I came in the house because of how I failed and what I lost. I lost money on the market. I lost failing at work trying to become a loan off. Man, it's all kinds of stuff, right? But I'll come in here and my kids can't, you got to go down. All right, you feel his energy and let
yeah,
somebody yell or scream or somebody can plan on a game, he getting mad at 2K, I might flip my lid because I just can't take nothing else. But my wife doesn't look at me and call me toxic. She looks at me and say, that man care about our future. Right now, I got to be strategic with him so I can begin to show him how he's being in this moment. But I can respect the fact that he cares so much that he's dealing with or is or this failure is having an effect on him, but he ain't quit yet. Right.
Yeah.
So if he's mad at these kids, or if he barks at me, I don't take that too personal. Now, don't get me wrong, my wife ain't no pushover,
Yeah.
right? Because she definitely you met her. So
I
yeah,
know.
there'll be times where she'll let me know, but she's
Yeah.
also those are while I'm in that process of becoming, she's in that process of becoming too, becoming a better queen, becoming a better wife, becoming more strategic with her husband so that she could get the maximum amount of impact out of me, right? Without coming at me like a daggone bulldog sometimes. Because ladies, I don't know if y'all know, that don't work. You can't just start hollering at a man when he come in the house and like he ain't no man, all right? It don't work.
Like,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Like, that's not going to be received well, even as a human, you know?
No, it won't.
Like, you just bringing issues on top of issues. But no. But I think about this because this is funny. I'm reading some of the comments too. Um, but, people get stagnant for a little bit, you know? I'm going to say this. There was like a 4-year stretch, where I definitely wasn't making as much as my wife. And I was working, I was actually teaching, and she was still making more than me. And even though I was bringing this it was okay, but I was still working on other things. I was cooking on the side, trying to make things happen. But I think about that. What if she had left me during that 4-year stretch because I wasn't making as much?
Right.
And now we've come out of that, and that's all I'm going to say. But what would happen then? Like it took a little bit. It took a couple years. I was still doing some things, but I had some dreams. I was able to come out of that. So what would have happened there? How do we feel about that? So sometimes it may take a little long. It may take a while. Like I said, it's not microwave. And if you're working on things for the long haul, it definitely takes time for things to develop too. You know. But I would say if your man is working on some stuff, you know, see where it goes. Help him. That's another thing.
Yes.
Like how we helping each other out. How can I make that happen?
Yes. And both
So
ways too, right? And
yeah,
don't be so quick to take him off his route. Support him, right? If it's something you can buy into. Now, if he come in the house talking about, babe, I'm finna be this professional pimp. All right, I need you to go ahead and put a hard stop to that. Right. But there are certain things there's certain things that he could keep that he's really trying to lift off this ground and can be lucrative with, right? And have true impact with. Can you buy into that man's vision?
yeah. Good question. I just see. I think that's Sonara. Sorry if I butchered him. I apologize. But she says, "How do you encourage a man who gets in a slump because he makes less money?" That's an excellent question. And I do think in positive reinforcement, encouraging. You know, don't beat them down. Don't say negative things, or sometimes we take little jabs at each other. Like I said, well, if you had a better job, if he said this, that's just going to make it worse. Because especially for a man who cares, a man who's trying, he's already beating himself up. Trust me.
Whoo!
You probably already doing it to himself 10 times fold than anything else. So when it comes from another
Yeah.
angle, it's so hurtful. Because if that man is there and he has a family and he's trying to provide, he's trying to do everything, you know, he's already feeling it. And that's where the insecurity comes from and things like that. So just, stand by his side, I ain't gotta say you gotta accommodate, walk on eggshells or nothing, but just be encouraging them. Let them know, hey, it's gonna be okay. Ask, where can I help? Or sometimes, move to other things in the house. Hey, make sure he still feels like he's contributing. That's another thing. Sometimes we just want to
Yeah.
contribute. And it may not be monetarily at that point, but there may be other things around the family, the relationship in the house, where he can still contribute the way he still feel like he's pulling some weight. Because that's all men want to do at the end of the day. If they care, they just want to pull their weight. They just want to be able to provide for their family. That's the whole goal, And so work with them
Yeah.
on that. Encourage that, you know.
Yeah. And the
Don't.
flip side to that too, Kenny, as a man, like there were times where because my wife wasn't the type of wife that came in the house and was like, "Oh, you ain't even doing," like she didn't take those jabs, right? But
Yeah.
because of my trauma, I didn't have a man in front of me. So everything had to be perfect for me. And to me, because I didn't have a father, I just didn't realize that failure was a part of the option. I felt like I ain't had no time. I ain't had no time to fail. I don't got time to fail. That's the
Yeah.
reason why my failures
Yes.
hit me hard.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So when your wife comes to you, and shout out to Raymond, man, words of affirmation.
Yeah.
but when your wife comes to you, right, and she starts talking to you about or she starts treating you like the king you should feel like, right? Can you receive it? Because there were times where I didn't even think I deserved the way my wife was treating me.
Mm.
Like there were times where I would leave, right? Because I just felt like, and that even sparked arguments because those would be times where because of the trauma I put my wife through and in the years past, are you where you at? Are you cheating on me? Blah blah blah. And it's like that ain't even the case. Like I just don't
Yeah.
even feel like I could come in there and be a man right now. I don't want to hear you ask me what I want for dinner. I ain't help bring the food in there. Right. I don't want you to
Yeah.
ask me what like I don't want you to and it's because I couldn't receive my own kingsmanship. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah. I
and
do.
so as so to my bros out there, to the fellas out there, man, y'all gotta be able to allow a woman to affirm you.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be a king that she can clearly see, right? And stop taking that as a jab because you feel like in your own head you're not doing enough to be treated the way she is willing to actually treat you in the moment.
Yeah. And sometimes be able to say it. That's one thing I was able to say.
Yes.
Hey, I don't, like I don't feel. I told my, I said I don't feel like a man right now. I had to say that. I said I don't feel like a man right now because I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm meeting my potential. I don't feel like I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. And I said that, and that opened up a lot of different conversations as well too. So let her know, like and through that communication where we learned, okay, this is what we can now do for each other. So
Yeah.
to answer those questions. But
And
I
we
know we
got
got the poll up.
100% yes on our poll, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
we
let
got a
them know.
poll out
Yeah.
here. So far we got 100% yes, right, on both sides. But I want y'all to keep voting, right? Because I'm curious. I want
Yeah.
that one person to get up in this chat,
Be honest.
because Kenny,
Who
you
gonna
know
be
I
the
likes to argue,
who
and
gonna be
when
the
I got
honest
the
person?
truth as ammo, I'm coming right at your neck. All right. So I want that one that come, and I really want to hear it. I want to hear your perspective. If there's anybody out here, all right, if there's any female out here that can't be with a dude who doesn't make more than they do, let me know. And if there's a dude in here who cannot necessarily be with a woman who makes more than they can, let me know, man. I want to know how y'all feel about that. Right. But we do got to get to this next topic, man, because we only got 15
So
minutes left. And you know how, man, you can take a topic and go
I
straight
know
to
1,000 with it.
right,
But what we got?
right. But that last one, are you compatible or share similar dysfunctions? Is this contributing to your what you consider to be compatible? Right. So we touched on the fact that you can make a mistake and allow your dysfunctions to choose your preferences for you. Right. We also touched on the fact that you're broken in seasons, but you heal,
Yep.
right? And if there are times where your partner doesn't necessarily heal with you, what do you do in that situation, right? I think that we also touched on a very critical portion that wasn't even a part of our agenda, but I think that because of how today's, like you said, I like the way you put that, Kenny, microwave culture, right? We live in a microwave culture. Everything is 1 minute. If you don't get that joint in 1 minute, it ain't working, right? So
Yeah.
I believe that has to do with us not being able to endure. That has everything to do with us still. And the reason why we don't want to endure is because we haven't chose to heal just yet. Patience, sacrifice. Are you allow? I mean, are you allowing you allow? Oh, but man, let's talk about that word allow. It's hard to allow, Kenny.
Mm,
Oh man, it's hard to allow my
it
wife
is.
to come in here and because her brokenness comes off. There were times where her brokenness came off at me, and I had to, hold up. You know what? I can't even talk to her right now. I can't even tell her about her own blind spot right now because I beat and cussed her out. Hope she ain't in this chat right now though.
Mm.
But seriously, like like
She gonna
like
hear it
I
later.
had to
You
say to
already know.
myself, like, yeah, right. I had to say to myself, like, well, hold up, like, hold on, right? But I had to swallow my own pride, right? I had to deal with, and then I had to accept, allow her masculinity in that moment. You know what I'm saying? And then endure it, because there were times where, she just thought she was right about certain things, and then find the proper communication to be able to get the point across, right? But I feel that a lot of us we choose out of our dysfunctions And the reason why we can't get to proper communication and we can't get to enduring like our significant others imperfections, and we can't, change the way we need to change and grow with the person that we need to grow with, because we absolutely chose the complete wrong person. Like, forget about the season, forget about all of that. Like imagine yourself being with a woman who absolutely just does not see it the way and like she got the eyeballs in there. We're gonna act like we don't even see that. My wife do.
You know
But
you already know, man. Wait till we get on this show. We might not see Ryan next week, y'all. Oh no.
but
I'm
no,
gonna check on you later, bro. I just want to make sure you are.
look, she took me off my train of thought. But no, like seriously, like there's a whole slew of things, right? That's contributing to us not being able to stay in some of these relationships that will end in a good way. But because we can't do some of the things that we've talked about in our previous conversations over the last few weeks, and culture is the way that it is, we're just ending up saying, "Oh no, we're not compatible no more." Like, well, what happened when you seen her walking up the block, bro? Or to the young lady, like, what happened when he had the dreads and the tattoos on his eyeballs, for God's sakes? Like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I think we go back to the foundation. We go back to, you know, what are our intentions here as we're getting into these relationships? What are we really doing here? Are we communicating these things? Are we working on building a foundation relationship and all those things that come along with it? And I go back to that. And then from there, that's when you start getting, like I said, that's the whole thing. Like, when you meet somebody, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, are you having
Yeah,
these conversations? Are you talking to people about this stuff? Are you talking to yourself about this stuff? Like, should we even be in relationships in the first place if we got stuff to work on ourselves? You know, this
yeah,
is where it starts. You know,
yeah,
that's why I go back to things like everyone talking about dating. What is your goal in dating? What are you really doing when you're dating? Are you trying to get a free meal? Are you trying to get to know somebody? What are the intentions here? Are you in tune with what you're looking for? Are you able to communicate that back both ways? So what's really going on at the beginning? And then from there, we can start to work some of this stuff out. And that's where the communication, the intention, working on these things and figuring out if you are compatible at that moment. And I say at that moment because, like I said, we start somewhere, right? And then
right,
are we growing out
right.
from there?
And I'll even take it to this, right? Because I do want to, because we only got 10 minutes left, and this is still so much more to get into right here with this, man. But I'm being honest with you. It's hard for me because it's hard for me to tell what kind of woman you are if your representation, and I know that, oh, it's just social media, or
Are
oh,
you
it's
about to say?
just
You
it's
about to
just
say it?
these just jokes. Like, no, it's not just jokes. If you're talking about hot girl season, I'm not risking it. I don't care about what you consider to just be jokes. I'm not finna lay my future on the line trying to figure out if you're playing or not. That has to change, man. You can't listen. You can't be out here playing psych. You can't be like hot girl season, give a f about a nigga, and then you talk about psych. No, 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 no. I got too much on the
We're
line.
we're going to get a little deeper than that. Even before we get to hot girl video, we talking about the visual. You know, we start off with the first attraction. You know, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it. What are you projecting? That's gonna
Yes,
make the first impression. Men and women, we both do it. So I'm gonna keep it real. But what are we projecting? And I say this, and again, I'm gonna say this, and I've had conversations about this. I got theories, but for a lot of men, when you first see a woman, we think two things: Am I trying to hit it, or is that gonna be wifey? You know, and so that's what things get started off on. You know, and from there, what's the intention, what's the goal, and stuff like that. There, so it's like it goes both ways. And even for dudes, I see a lot of dudes. What are we doing now? We may not have the visual, but we flash all the materialistic things. You know, that draw the attraction and stuff. So again, what are you attracting, man? What are you attracting
yeah.
for a woman? She sees all these things. You think you can provide you all this stuff, but is that really who?
Uh-oh.
So then brothers, because brothers do, we get mad. We get mad when, you know, we show all this flat ball and then she wants nice things.
Right.
And then we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
mad
like you
like why
can't
she
be out
that she
there.
got expensive. Well, that's what you were projecting too, fam.
Right, you throwing your money all out there. Come on, fellas. Like, yo, first of all, I've never met a dude who was about his business, put some money in the air and shuffle them like it's a deck of cards. Like, first of all, that
I ain't never
brother.
want you. I ain't never want you to talk about it. You never know how much money I have. First of all. I ain't never do that.
Never. I will never put it out there that way. So for the females,
Man,
you got to be able to read
no,
it between the
baby.
lines. But vice versa for the dudes. But Natasha said she disagreed, Mr. Kenneth Wilson. Can you tell me why, Natasha? Can you tell
I
me why you
saw that.
disagree?
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
know why you disagree. And while I wait on that comment to
Pardon
come
me, big
up,
bitch.
I want to
Proceed.
take it a step further, right? Because like there isn't any misunderstandings with when our intentions are stated to begin with, right? If because I firmly believe that a wife is a wife before she becomes a wife, right? The same way Kevin Durant had the talent to be an MVP before he was actually title MVP is the same way a husband is a husband before he gets the title. And that's the same way a wife is a wife before she gets that title. There are certain qualities in her, there are certain characteristics in her that you can identify immediately without the verbalization of those characteristics, right? I think that you have to,
Yeah.
if you are a wife, you got to say it first, right? And not necessarily with your mouth. You can't be on the internet shaking your butt. You can't. I don't care that it's just a dance. I don't
But
care.
yeah,
You
but there has
can't.
to
I
be
do not
presentation.
want my wife to do
Yeah.
that. All right. And I want respect. You have to be able to respect me in that regard. If you think I'm old fashioned, you're not my type. But intentions in the beginning stages of what I consider to be compatible will clearly state that. Right. As a matter of fact, I will not choose you if
Yes.
that's what you're doing. And I hopefully you don't take that personal, but you cannot be dancing and carrying on to, hot girl season, give a F about a nigga, and then a dude, he on there flashing his money, and then you switch up. Right. I'm expecting a certain thing. If I contact you, I'm contacting you on that. I'm not contacting you to be something else.
For that reason.
And then don't turn around and flip the script. And the dudes don't say she ain't nothing. She getting on my nerves. Bop bop bop. No, you knew who she was. It was hot girl season. What you pick her for? Right? Same thing with the women. Like nah. Like he trying to save his
That was
bro.
hot
You
girl
want to say
season, and
like
you was yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like but all right. So Natasha, because if a man only sees two things, they meet a hold
I
up.
see it.
They keep on switching on the screens. All right, so because if a man only sees two things when they meet a woman, they what? No, I'll let you go ahead. I'll let you go. I'll let you go ahead.
Why would they mess? Not saying two things we meet a man. Why would you mess up with one they consider to be a wife? You can think she is a wife, but but you're not a husband. I mean, I go with that, but I think what I was saying is that like I said, the first thing is attraction, right? You know, and so what you're presenting, your presentation, for the most part, will give off mostly what men and women too. Like I said, I think the first initial thing. So if you're presenting a certain lifestyle, if you're presenting a certain attitude, what do you think a man is going to go off of? That's what I was saying. So, for most times there is, like I said, it's physical, or that man might be thinking, okay, this is someone I can spend long term with. This is someone I can get to know. So
Yeah,
that's what the root of the intentions come from. But that's how we
yeah,
present. So that's why I say, like you talk about social media, things like that. And that's what I said. So if you shaking ass, like you said, if you shaking ass, you look a certain way, most men aren't thinking that's wifey right there. They
yep,
thinking that's tonight, you know. And I
yep,
don't, and I'm not gonna speak for women, but like I said, I know for men, if you out there, if you flash and you trying to present a certain lifestyle, but that's not who you are, and then like I said, you can't get mad later on when that's the thing she was attracted to. Those are the things that she thought she was compatible with. That you were going to
yep.
be able to provide a certain lifestyle. You were going to be able to do certain things that she likes. But if you can't hold up that end of the bargain, now you got a problem.
Yeah,
And
you can't
that's
get mad that she think you about to make it rain, Louis bags and Gucci shoes, pimp. But let,
yeah,
let me tell let me take it to this though, right? Because I do want to get to this because we're talking about being intentional in the first beginning stages of your of any type of relationship, right? You need to first of all, you need to if you're looking to be a wife, you got to be that wife before the man gets there, right? He has to be able to see that quality and characteristics in you before he even speaks, right? Number two, you still have, I mean, and just to capitalize on that statement, you can be sexy without showing your ass. Like, ladies, please stop with all of that. All right. Now, number two, I do also believe that we have to stop looking for compatibility and then start looking for what's suitable. Right? Is it,
Mm.
you know, is this young lady that's in front of me, is she suitable to what I want to accomplish in my life? Right? And I believe that even when you're in your young dumb season, you can see certain things about a woman. You can, bro. You can see
Yeah, no,
certain
no.
things about women. Go ahead. Go ahead. What
No, I'm looking at.
you?
Yes, we be looking. Yes, yes, we do look because we are still men at the end of the day. What you expect us to do? What do you expect? You know, but y'all know what y'all be doing. That's why y'all do it because you know we gonna look. You know, but
Yes,
but that's what I'm
Natasha.
saying.
Candace. I'm gonna tell you. I might look right, and before my wife, I would look, even play with you because I was immature. But I
Yeah,
would not consider you a wife,
yes,
and
and
that's
that's the
flat.
thing. That's flat. That's what it is. So we could go that road for a couple months, but in the back of my head, the whole time I know this
Can't be with this
this
one for the rest of my life. There's certain women you consider to be home base, and there's certain women that you consider to be one night, right? Maybe in a few sessions,
yeah, tell them you
but
lying. Yeah, yeah.
definitely not my
But I
wife.
say, but then
Okay, hot girl
and then that's what
season.
happens. So
I
then,
never know when you're gonna want to get back into that season.
but also too, but that's what happens when we get. So, okay, let's say we've been playing for a couple months now, and then finally it wakes up like, wait, dang, I don't want to do this no more because I really want. And unfortunately, I know it ends badly, and that shouldn't be happening.
And yo, and listen, suitable, be intentional up front. Is she suitable to what you want to get accomplished? Is he suitable to what you want to get accomplished in your life? Right? Do you see those characteristics and those qualities in him or her before you spoke? Right? Can you see it in her? Right? I ain't talking about his tattoos. I ain't talking about his muscles. I ain't talking about none of that. I'm talking about what do you see 10 years from now, 15 years from now, right? And then
Yes,
lastly, if you're looking for your blessing, and this is just these notes that I've written down about this, right? If you're looking for your blessing, you gotta be ready for her to shatter your reality, right? Because anytime she
yeah,
is, and anytime she's agreeing with the way that you are deciding to be and not pushing you to be greater, we got a hard red flag there because y'all both looking to stay broke.
yeah,
There's nobody, that's the blind leading the blind. Your blessing is never going to allow you to stay still. She's always going to push you forward. He is always going to push you forward. She's going to make you uncomfortable. Don't leave. We know we're in a microwave culture.
yes,
Don't leave. Be willing and open to understand where she's coming from. Now, y'all both broken, so she may communicate it wrong. But the qualities and the characteristics that you saw in her should be able to push you through all of that so that you can endure a little bit because you see some things in her that you didn't see in another woman, right? But if she's pushing you to be greater, if she's
yes,
pushing you to more and to better, then yo, that's one right there. That's to me, that's a keeper.
yeah, yeah. Well said, Ryan Dunstan. Well said,
I
sir.
appreciate you, King. I appreciate you. So listen, man,
I'm
it's
just,
10 o'clock.
I appreciate you,
I know you.
man.
Go ahead. My bad.
No. I'm reading these comments. I appreciate everybody that's been commenting. Everybody that's been rocking with us, man. They're really having some good stuff over here.
Yeah, listen. I think this is the most interaction we've had since we've been doing this show. But we
Yeah.
do want to. we're trying to get better with wrapping this thing up at 10 o'clock. So I appreciate you joining us, man. Please share the show, like the show, hit the heart button, hit the like button, and make sure y'all join us next week as we advance forward. We got a guest coming on next Monday. And I'm thinking that maybe we can even have a further conversation about this compatibility, and extend it a little bit. But who knows? Show up next week to find out what kind of controversy we're going to stir up, what kind of fires we're going to light,
Yep.
and how we're going to ruffle some feathers. This is the Speakeasy Show. That's Mr. Kenneth Wilson. I'm Mr. Ryan Dunston. And we look forward to seeing you guys next Monday at 9 p.m. Peace.
Have a good one.